Class 111 on the Golden Doves. We're on page 63. Finally, we're going to be studying about language, okay? Language may be conceived of as an instrument allowing for deception and the manipulation of emotions, right? So one way to look at language is say, well, language is used to deceive people. Politicians do it all the time, right? So there was recently every week in Chicago, I don't know how many people get shot. Last week it was 50 people got shot, right? So a few weeks ago there was rampaging in the city of Chicago. There was youth rampaging. I mean, hundreds of youth, acting violently, destroying property, beating up people, burning cars. So the mayor of Chicago got up and said that we need to create safe spaces for these youth. So first of all, get me the tissue. I need to cry. That's just such a touching thing of the mayor to say. Like, it's just, I would never have thought of that on my own. But the truth is, it's a deception. But you see, this is a way language is used to deceive and to manipulate emotions. That's a great example. Oh, that's so beautiful. These are youth. They need safe spaces, of course. The youth don't need safe spaces. It's we need safe spaces from the youth. The youth don't need safe spaces. We need safe spaces. But you see how they twist everything. Or for example, a gender-affirming care. So there's a biological boy, and he decides in his mind, he has gender dysphoria, he decides he's actually a female. So we need gender-affirming care, right? So they call it gender-affirming care. Oh my God, they care. And why wouldn't we want to care about this boy, right? We have to care about him. He's a child. Who wouldn't care about a child, right? So it's gender-affirming care, but you see how they twist it. It's actually not gender-affirming. It's a misaffirmation of his gender. They're actually going to take his actual scientific gender and cut it off because his mind decided that this is not what he is, right? So you see how everything is twisted? Every time a politician speaks, everything is twisted. Everything is a manipulation of emotions. I'm not talking about whether I'm in favor or against gender-affirming care. By the way, I didn't express my opinion. I'm expressing my opinion on how politicians manipulate us with language, right? So it's gender-affirming. Actually, it's gender-misaffirming, right? But that's the way politicians speak. So language, can be conceived as an instrument used to deceive and to manipulate emotions. Well, yes. However, it may also be conceived as a rational instrument operating in logical categories. But then again, logic has there's a certain logic in language, right? There's certain logical categories in language, the way language is structured, right? So that's kind of like a debate. Should we view language as some sort of tool to manipulate, or should we view language in more rationalistic terms? In ancient Greece, Gorgias was a Sicilian philosopher, and Plato was Plato, initiated a debate concerning the character of language, right? So Gorgias and Plato, they have this debate regarding this very question, which has persisted to this day, and until this day, when this debate continues. Gorgias maintained that speech affects the psyche of the hearer like magic and witchcraft, right? So he says that you can use speech in a way to literally magically control a person's emotions or influence a person's emotions, right? Just like magic would do that, or witchcraft would do that. It functions as an emotional catalyst, right? So it evokes certain emotions within us, right? So for example, I don't like you. I'll call you a racist. You're a racist. Oh my God, well, he's a racist. I mean, so that's an emotional catalyst. I now dislike that person because somebody else pointed out that he's a racist, right? Doesn't matter whether there's content to the accusation or not, right? Casting a spell upon the audience, it charms and binds, producing illusion and deception, right? So if you're a good politician, you'll use the right words. You'll speak about equity, right? You'll speak about freedom. You'll use all these like catchwords of people. They hear it, they become uplifted, right? or they become charmed by you, right? The object of rhetoric is to master the techniques of arousing and controlling these emotions. So a good rhetorician, a good speaker, is a person who knows how to use the right words in the right place at the right time to evoke certain emotional responses from the audience. Rather than to Sophia, wisdom, rhetoric pertains to metis, cunning intelligence. Cunning intelligence, right? So you have wisdom, which is Sophia, right? And that's truth, that's rationalistic thinking. But then you have metis. Metis is cunning intelligence, right? So again, another example, the person who came out, the special prosecutor against Donald Trump, nobody is above the law, right? So we are coming up to Donald Trump. I agree, nobody should be above the law, right? But you see how they use cunning, like you hear that. Yeah, well, of course, nobody should be above the law, obviously, right? But of course, the whole thing is a joke, right? They wouldn't investigate any other person for having committed that crime, not Pence, who's a Republican, not Biden, who's a Democrat, not all the other presidents and all the other political figures that have top secret documents in their possession against the Presidential Act, right? But you see how they do these things. They tell us nobody's above the law. Wow, yeah. Of course nobody should be above the law, right? So they manipulate us. The rhetor, as an experienced magician, wow, it's pretty cool. It's a type of magic, right? Because the same way in magic you deceive, you look at the hat, it's empty. There's really a rabbit there somewhere, right? But like, it's empty. You take the rabbit out. Oh my gosh, how did that happen, right? This is exactly what politicians do every single day, right? The rhetor, as an experienced magician, knows how to exploit the psyche and masters the techniques by which this aim is reached, right? Gorgias, noted Charles P. Siegel, does not regard such persuasion and its concomitant enchantments as immoral, right? But rather as a necessary and practical corollary to his conception of the human psyche. So when Gorgias says that rhetoric is like magic, he's not condemning rhetoric, right? The same way I didn't explicitly condemn the politicians, I just mocked them. I didn't explicitly condemn the politicians who use rhetoric to manipulate the idiot masses that fall for this nonsense, right? I didn't. I'm not going to condemn them. But Gorgias certainly wasn't condemning them, nor was he mocking them, as I am. He was just describing what they do, right? As an instrument for the irrational, the logos demands the complete suspension of rational belief, right? So, the logos, the word, right? So the rhetorician is speaking, the politician is speaking. He's speaking these words. In order to take the words of a politician seriously, there's a sine qua non, there's a requirement. Stop thinking rationally. The minute you stop thinking rationally, you can take these politicians seriously, right? It works via magic and enchantment. So of course, if the politician has a good head of hair, oh my gosh, look how handsome he is! And that affects the way you perceive his words, which is really pretty remarkable statement on human beings and the fact he's very good looking, he's handsome, he's well spoken, he's dynamic. That's another word. People, oh, he's such a dynamic speaker, right? He has a nice tie, but we call it dynamic, right? And nobody even knows what the word dynamic means. Wow, that speaker is dynamic. I've heard that so many times. People say that I'm dynamic. What the heck does the word dynamic mean? Can somebody explain to me what the word dynamic mean and how that relates to a particular speaker? I don't know. Right? So the logos demands the complete suspension of rational belief. Again, we need safe spaces for these youth. Oh my gosh, that's so touching, right? The politician really cares, right? COVID vaccines, right? You must take the vaccine, because if you don't take the vaccine, you're endangering other people. Oh my gosh, I don't want to endanger other people. Like, that's terrible. I guess I'll take the vaccine. But wait, if the vaccine works, Why would I be endangering other people by not taking the vaccine? I guess it doesn't work, right? But if it doesn't work, why should I take it? So you see, there's like a rational thought process. Let me discuss it with my doctor. No, you can't discuss it with your doctor. That's not allowed, right? And if a doctor actually gives you his honest medical advice and that medical advice becomes public, the doctor is canceled. So you see, rational thinking is an anathema to politicians, because the minute you start employing rational thinking, let me make an informed decision with my doctor, right? That is a threat to the magic of rhetoric. And again, I'm not expressing whether the vaccines work or not. I don't care whether you got vaccinated or not. It's not my business. And I'm expressing no commentaries whether the vaccine did work, didn't work, doesn't work. Nothing to do. I'm not going to talk about myocarditis and all the people dying from blood clots. That's not my business. That's not my expertise. I'm not going to talk about the fact that there was a recent Senate hearing where insurance companies came with their actuarial tables and they pointed out 600,000 more people are dying a year as a result of the vaccine. That's not my area of expertise. I know nothing about that. So I will not in any way try to influence, because really I'm not a doctor. So I don't want you to take this, video and say, oh my gosh, he's anti-vax. I am not anti-vax. I'm not pro-vax. I'm giving you a class about how to think in an intelligent fashion, and I want to show how politicians don't want you to think intelligently. This is the reason, in my opinion, and you can laugh about this. I don't care. This is why politicians want to legalize marijuana. This is why politicians give out crack pipes in public. They want people to be stupid, because only a stupid person can take the politician seriously. Why? Because if you're stupid, you don't have rational thought. And then you get enchanted by the politicians, how they speak and how their hair looks good. And, they're the ones going to be ruling the country now. Right? Again, as an instrument for the irrational, the Logos demands the complete suspension of rational belief. So yes, Mayor Adams will joke about the fact that marijuana dispensaries are all over the city, and somebody was smoking marijuana in the crowd and he was joking, they're already smoking marijuana. Okay, that's great. Let's make them dumber. It works via magic and enchantment rather than via the objective factuality of aletheia, truth. Nobody cares about the truth. It doesn't matter. According to this view, rhetoric is essential for the proper directing of human conduct. We need good rhetoricians. Politicians who know how to speak so that they can tell us how to behave. They have to guide us. We're too stupid, and they're right. We are too stupid to guide ourselves. Unfortunately, we're left with them, right? That's not the best alternative. But here's a quote, and I'm going to tell you where this quote is from. Hold on one second. Quote, footnote 17, on the linguistic theory of Gorgias C. Pierre Dominique. Okay, Gorgias and the Psychology of the Logos, from Harvard University, Harvard Studies in Classical Philology. All right, so it's a quote now. What is significant, however, is the rational principle involved, that the manipulation of the formal aspect of the Logos can produce a desired emotional effect on the audience. Right? You see, the formal aspect of the Logos, there's a certain form to the word, right? The Logos, freedom, equity. Oh my gosh, those are powerful words. Safe spaces, right? That's a formal aspect of the Logos. And the formal aspect produces an emotional effect on the audience, right? Anti-vax, you're anti, right? And hence, the linguistic techne of rhetoric becomes also a technique for directing human motivation, right? And so through effective rhetoric, you can manipulate people into doing exactly what you want them to do, right? On the other hand, Plato, so that's Gorgias. Plato, he condemned the irrational aspect of speech. We will continue tomorrow or the day after.